friend Leah, and happy to be with all of you and to be part of this this group of really amazing poets. So I'm going to start with a poem by William Hayen, a poet who I don't know if many people read anymore. He's in his 80s. He's living in upstate New York. He's my pen pal, and he's also one of my poetry heroes. But he's kind of in obscurity now, but still writing great poetry. This is his poem called Blackbird Spring. Mid-morning, walking ocean shoreline, I found 100 blackbirds frozen in ice, only their heads protruding, black eyes open, gleaming, most of their sharp beaks still scissoring in mid-whistle. Feeding, they've been caught in sea spray, must be. All males, up north early, scarlet epaulettes aflame, a few inches under. I chipped one bird loose with a stone, held it in gloved hands under the rising sun until I realized nothing I hadn't known. The tide retreated and would return. Within the austere territories, these would have filled with belligerence and song. Spring had begun. He's a great poet, and that poem and his life and work inspired this book, Mid-Whistle.
Can you spell his last name, please?
Heyen. All right, so, and I'm going to read 3 sections from this short sections from this poem. So I'll just do that. 1, out of the azure. I'm listening to the earth, to Bill Hayen read blackbirds back into the sky above the earth, to space junk hurtling over the sky, hurtling under it, while Hayen hurtles through time, back to Robert Penn Warren, back through Auschwitz, through ashes to Ceylon, through Hiroshima to Whitman, back through Rumi to Keats, back below the surface of Walden Pond, back to woods stilled in a Long Island night 70 years ago. I am listening to a man read himself through remembrance, against nostalgia, against Little Boy, Enola Gay, and Oppenheimer's sleep. I'm listening and trying to hear myself in old age, 40 years from now, become another this uplifted, spun out of the azure into the syntax of an erased elegy. I talk there and candle a hope for a one who no longer exists. I'm dreaming upstate, reading my own blackbirds back into my own backbone, back to those days spent bicycling around the neighborhood from corner store to the oak tree by the cemetery gate, where my brother and I wolfed down sub sandwiches and let June unfold so indolently around us. Blackbirds flew overhead then, in a V, thousands of them, as they will tonight when I put my daughter to sleep, while their cawing booms through my skull. At bedtime, my daughter asked me to tell her one more story before I can even say once upon a once. And this is the whole interior jewel and thiefdom of a poem. A once before once, you say in the dark because of love. And my brother's here tonight, Damon, who I mentioned in that poem. He's an accountant, and poetry's not really his thing, but he's always supported my work, my poetry, for years and years. So very grateful. 17, interlude, Darwin's Arch. Each night these days I dream of Earth ending. The planet implodes. The iron and nickel in the core spurts out into space, and auroras our former home. This ending is beautiful in its way. A sudden flash, disintegrating cannons and histories, the whole crush of human achievement gone to comet. spinning off to uncharted interstellar regions where an alien Shakespeare unsonnets and unquills the tentacled universe. I've been reading my daughter too many volcano books. The manta rays and hammerheads in my heart cut swiftly through rivers of bright red lava. In the atoms of stories I tell her before bedtime. My wife is in those atoms, 28 weeks pregnant with our second child and beaming, wrapped up in Rapunzel's hair, along with the witches and princesses and jellyfish and crabs wiggling through our minds as our child drifts off. She says, "Don't talk, just tell the story. Once upon a time." And once again, I realize the world doesn't end. It just keeps on eroding into us hour by hour, one molecule at a time, paradise upon paradise, Galapagos of endless want and need and give, yellowfin and turtle, cormorant and albatross, and eternal iguana, lounging in the good sunlight halfway around the globe from the elsewhere we dream ourselves into, a shine like glints through whirling schools of angelfish. These milliseconds, wing beats, waves, flicker into us, lash us to the unknown, past the point of undoing disaster. Let us pray as prairie dog and clover and bee stitched into the vast eternal instant. For this now I hold out to you. And this is the last section. This is 20 interlude elegy for Ivan Boland. Think of a poem as unassuming as any suburb anywhere the world over, tenanted with as many rabbits, cats, widows, and mothers curling up beside daughters and dads and sons, and white minivans decaled with red stick figure families on their rear windows, with a leaf blower humming a filleted garden music voiceover to the trailer for the movie your life might be based on. The biopic desire makes in the long hours of Sunday afternoons, while the smell of honey ghosts your nostrils, and you are confused about the very poem I just asked you to think of. In middle age, you might look out an open skylight at 3 a.m. and see Polaris shining and feel a hint of heaven, even as your life reduces to a string of memories of dry biscuits and mutton, of bridal linens, a dense yew, a Renoir seen for a second and remembered as a Degas. The impulse to defer acknowledgement of a grief. A poem is a beautiful rift in time, begot in the well, in the throat's deep well. Now think of Evan Boland and my own rapidly evanescing storyline. I am addressing the you that is I, and that she and they, and the us, lonely and frail in this wholly difficult now. Hold the pomegranate's hundred hearts in one hand, hold the glass king's tortures in the other. We were like any poets in love with the gray undersides of mulberry leaves and the way the grass ekes toward twilight. Our poems extrapolate paradise from the slipjig of rain on paving stone. Hold close this long poem about a son of many fathers, each father dying into his hundred children, rubied from hospital hallway to night light to midnight moon and back again, to the gurney with one wobbly wheel, veering toward the morgue on Thursday in a Vallejo poem. These are the witnesses, wings pinned in a glass cubicle of sky. Thanks.